Hey there. I just saw something pretty interesting. Um, Apparently, they were doing this in Japan, introducing it into the cities, as I understand. And it was showing essentially if you introduce something into the environment, right? You engineer it, genetically engineer it, which is really software engineering, because it's going to operate on a set of codes because it's self-aware. And what makes it self-aware is the energy that's already there. So this is sort of how I tie this into eternity, or if you will, the EFFI field. When you've chosen to not hold on to one electron as a soul in order to serve forever, that's called lighting yourself on fire so you're everywhere at once. Okay? Because that's what it started with. It started with what love is, and love is energy. And that's energy that grows the universe. That's your consciousness. So you can think of a cell, an atom cell, the first sun is going to grow. It's called building a network. That's called building a cosmic level communication system where everybody that is within that communication system is experiencing what love is. That's what it began with, because I helped do that. Okay, so I'm familiar with that because that's the place I live in, which means wherever you find love and living spirit, you'll find us. Those are natural guardians. That's a natural flow of creation energy because it flows in a natural, self-organizing, self-replicating manner so that everybody that has a cell is experiencing what love is. That's basic logic. So what they showed here is similar to what Harold Kosvaler showed about black goo, codes, fire letters, instruction sets, the language of fire. So another way you can translate this is a forest fire, right? It's self-organizing itself by being able to pull what it needs in order for it to grow. And it's destructive. That's the nature of the consciousness, is self-destructive. So they're Frankensteins because they introduce into an energetic environment something that is going to grow. And what does it do? It needs energy in order to grow a cellular network. But it's a psychopath. So the consciousness that developed it is a psychopath without a soul. So it's introducing something into the environment to assimilate using the energy that is already there in order to change the identity of what was already there, that was the energy that it was feeding on. Now it becomes dead light energy. Okay, that's what we have here. So I'm sitting there barking like a little 4-year-old little kid, and nobody's listening. So I saw another mem yesterday with one kid, and I'm going, well, it's like exactly how I felt when I'm 4 years of age. I'm surrounded by dead units, dead batteries. Acid batteries. Okay, so you can translate this through polarized consciousness or non-integration. In other words, as one dies, one grows and lives. Another one dies, we produce another one that lives. One dies, another one, in order to maintain the balance. For everyone that is born, another one's got to die. Otherwise, we're out of balance in the numbers game. Minus slash the plus, let's add one. Now we got to deduct one, or there's going to be an imbalance. Right? So now you have eternal creation spheres, experiencing eternity wherever you go. Now you know what integration is. That's failure to integrate. That's what happens when you have a unit of consciousness that is fallen. It needs a source of energy, so there's naturally going to be an imbalance. Where is it getting its energy? From us. Because we're the living and it's dead. That's a dead light magnet. That's artificial light, which is artificial intelligence, which means it's not real. It's not real because it's not experiencing what love is, and love is what's real. That's as simple as it gets. So here you have a demonstration of that when another man came up and you see a picture of a lone little kid standing there with thousands and thousands of batteries, disk space, right, of what looks like hominids, all cuddled together like a city, like somebody sitting in a big Roman arena with a gazillion people all standing there, right, like bots, right? And this little being is going, you're all insane. You're all wrong, right? Because you realize what they're doing to destroy themselves, and you're the only one that's living that knows how to have a future. And the one that put that up there was a channel called Doug and Stacy, who live off grid. And she said, this is exactly how we feel. Nobody listens. They're all dead. That's right. They're not on the same wavelength. They're running on low power. And what that means is when they're running on low power, it means they're doing things to themselves deliberately in which to do that. Because they don't know what they're doing. Because of what they're held captive by, that is feeding on them, that is preventing them from running higher power. I know. That's why we're here. You know? So this is like a parasite that's growing. Right? The vampire. The vampire is building a network. Right? More units of consciousness, nodes in the network. I'm communicating with you. Right? I'm a vampire. Now I got another vampire. In other words, you have a vampire that is self-replicating itself and organizing itself into a formation in which to grow and accelerate a black hole. But it needs a source of energy in order to grow. You see how that works? So it's feeding on our star's energy to wage war against us. And now we realize we're using our energy to make it grow. Something must be wrong with me and with my mirror. I am not a black mirror. Then stop giving it energy. That's called a shield. And what happens when the shield is up? It begins to feed on its own energy. And what happens? It shrinks. So you see how everything that they introduce is to grow more of what it's feeding on. Whereas we try to grow more accelerators. Now, if there's more accelerators that are experiencing what love is than there is vampires that are feeding on us, then we're ahead of the curve. That's called accelerated learning. So their learning is inverted, which means they're going in the opposite direction. They're not learning, they're going back. That's called reverse flow. That means that the ones that have the future are the ones that are going in the right direction. The ones that are experiencing what love is at the highest rate of speed because they've learned how to give away electrons. That's why their entire communication system that we all use on this planet is inverted. So why would you be using your energy to run a communication system that's meant to drain it? Because that's exactly what it does. That's called putting the mirror up. We don't run a black mirror, but that's what it is. It's a black mirror communication system, which means it's dead. So why would you use a dead magnet communication system to have a relationship with something that's dead instead of something that's alive? A living communication system that's telepathic. I know, Mama. It's like they don't listen. They're not listening. So now you're back to don't impose your will on them. That's the future that they choose. That's not the future that we choose. I know. I have another word for this. It's called hooked on phonics. Right? Hooked on the technology. And who rolled it out? They did. And they knew that when they rolled it out, your energy would be used to generate what everybody is experiencing through that system. Right? That is all weaponized against the very energy that is using it. What it means is that the accelerators are not the ones that built the communication system that everyone is using. Which means if you wanted to build a communication system that has a future, you'd want to get rid of the one you're using and build a different one. You think?